Hello, Year 5. So this is our lesson 2 of position and movement. I'm going to take you back to the work that we did in September when we recapped the Year 4 work that you missed out on during lockdown, just so that we can really get to grips with it today. So your lesson in your Year 4 book was called Describing Movements, which is a really good way of talking about a special mathematical word called translation. And it's thinking about how a shape moves. So you'll see here that we've got a rectangle and it is A, B, C, and D. They're the vertices of our shape. And it moves so that one of its vertices ends up at 7, 8. And I'm just going to remind you, this is how we write coordinates. So we have it within brackets and we need to have two numbers with a comma in the middle. The 7, the first number, is always the number on the x-axis, the one that goes across, and the second number is the number that goes on the y-axis, y to the sky. That's a good way of remembering it, isn't it? So I've got 7, 8, so I go along the x-axis, so units away from the y, which is what we talked about yesterday. So I go to 7 on the x-axis first, and then up to 8, and you'll see I've just marked on that point there. So I go along 7 and up 8. So one of my vertices is going to move to here. Now I've just shown on here, look, there are different ways that you can do it. Any of your vertices could go there. But if we're trying to make sure that we keep our rectangle within this 10 by 10 grid, this is one of the ways that you might choose to do it. So you might move point C to this point here. Now, one thing to really think about with translation is that we don't go diagonally. We always go across and then up or down. And in this instance, we've gone across to the right and then we've gone up. So we're going to look at point C here on our original shape, the purple shape, and we're going to see how many units we go across to the right and how many up. So count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right and 1, 2 up. Okay, so that point C, that vertex C, has moved 5 to the right and 2 up. And by moving just that vertex C, you'll see that all of the other vertices are plotted in the same way. Let's have a look then at B. Let's see if we follow the same thing. So does it end up here if I do 5 to the right and 2 up? Let's do it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right and 1, 2 up. And there it is in our new location. So we have to do the same to all of our points. It's really important that we do the same number to the right or to the left and the same number up or down. So let's have a look at today's question. So this is your in focus task for your Year 5 work called Describing Translations. And we know that translations are all about moving shapes. So you've got another 10 by 10 grid here, but this time we're making it a bit harder. We're thinking about the halfway points as well. So halfway between two numbers is obviously a half, the whole number plus a half. Halfway between 7 and 8 would be 7.5. And it would be at that halfway point. Now, in your maths yesterday, in your Zoom, in our Zoom call, I showed you a shape. I showed you this shape. It's a bit like an arrow. And I said to you, you're going to need to remember that. So I wonder if anybody can remember what is the name of this polygon. Impress me if you can remember it. So write it down in your books. So it says, show the possible position of the shape following the translation. Describe the translation you have used. So if A is at 6, 6.5, look, we can see we go along 6 and up 6.5. This is where our new point is. Now, if we've marked on X here, we may be able to think about this point moving to this point. But that may not be it. There may be other ways that you can do it. So I want you to go away and have an explore. Now I have saved on Tapestry a copy of this shape. So what you can do is print it off and cut it out, and then on your guided practice or on your in focus, you can actually move it along and up. So you can cut it out and actually place it on top of that shape that's there, and move it along and up, and see if that helps you. So pause the video and go and have a go at your in focus task now. Okay, right, welcome back. So before we go any further, I'm going to show you a really lovely website. I won't show you the whole video because I think it's probably better if you go and have a look at it yourself. I've saved this link on Tapestry, so it's a BBC Bitesize video. And if I quickly take you to what it looks like. Mrs. Hall can't find it now, so bear with me one moment. Okay, and okay, so hopefully you can now see this BBC Bitesize. Now this is a really lovely way of explaining translation to you. As I say, I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I'll quickly show you the start of it. So you've got two parts to it. You've got part A here, and then if you follow it down, it's got part B. Okay, so it shows you quite nicely how we would go about translating shape.
Hello there. Let's have a look at today's maths problem. It looks like Bella is planning a bedroom makeover. Do you ever sort out your room and move things around to make it feel different? Bella has done some careful planning to make sure her move will work. She's even drawn a map of her bedroom and has used that to decide where to move the furniture. Can you see what she's decided? Bella says, I will slide the bed 5 squares to the left. So our first question is, what will be the new position of Bella's bed?
Okay, so I'll just pause that and take us back into our slideshow. So you can continue to look at that. If you feel like you might like a little bit more support with translation, watch part A and part B, and that talks you really nicely through how to do it. Okay, so if you've struggled with your in focus, have a look at that and maybe try and go back to your in focus now. Right, let's have a look at it then. So we could translate this shape in different ways. So we're going to have a really quick look at the different ways that we might be able to do it. So here is where the grey shape is where our original shape was. So this has moved from here and it's moved up to here. So we've got X marked on to show that this is this point here at the top of our shape. Okay, so we have to say if I want to move my shape over to here. Let's see what has happened. Now, am I going to say I'm going from this point here to this point here? Hopefully you're all saying, no, 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 Mrs. Hall, that's a totally different vertex on my shape, because you can see that this is the vertex at the top of my shape, and this is a vertex at the bottom of my shape. And actually, X is now here. Look, it's gone from here up to here. So we need to decide how we would go about doing that. Now you can see the figure is translated 3 units to the right and 2.5 units upwards. And let's just check that. So we could actually draw it on our shape as we go. So we're going to see if that's right. Is it 3 units to the right? 1, 2, 3, and 2.5 up. 1, 2, and then another little half there. We can see that we don't need to go all the way up to the next line, up to 9. We're only going 2.5, which is 1, 2, and that. Is that correct? Was it 3 to the right and 2.5 up? Yes, it was. Look, we can see. So then we can say, as a result, the point X moves from 3, 6, which is here, to 6, 8.5, which is 6, 8.5, which is here. And we could then say where the other what the coordinates of the other vertices are. So if this were point B, I'm going to say, right, well, that starts at 5, 3. So 5, 3. Remember to put it into brackets. Okay, and my new coordinates, look, I can see that that's the same point there. My new coordinates, when I have moved 3 units to the right and 2.5 up, let's just double check they've done it right. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.5. Yeah, so this point here is going to be 8, and then halfway between those two, which is, and you can use a ruler to check this, which is there, 5.5. So it's 8, 5.5, our new coordinates, 8, 5.5. And then I have to remember to put it into brackets. Right, let's have a look at the next one quickly together then. So it's now here. X has now moved to here. So I wonder if you can have a quick look and decide what would our translation be? How many to the right? How many up? And then what are the new coordinates? Quickly pause the video and have a go for me. Right, we're going to do it together then. So we can see this time, yes, we have gone from the top of our shape to the top of this shape. Okay, so if I'm now looking at this, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 to the right and 1, 2, 3.5 up. 5 right, 3.5 up. And let's just check that this point A has moved from here. Is it the same? Is it 5 right and 3.5 up? Let's check together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's right, isn't it? It's in line, like we can see. And then 3.5 up. 1, 2, 3, plus another little half there. So that's our new translation. And you can see that there's various ways that we can move it. We could move it over to this way. Okay, we can move it that way, which is 1, 2, 3 to the right and a half up. Okay, so today, what I would like you to do is I want you to start off doing your guided practice. So it says, describe the translation that moves A to 2.5, 3. So here's A, and I need to get it to 2.5. So there's 2.5, 3. Okay, so actually, don't worry about the fact that there's a vertex there already. That's where I'm moving it to. A needs to go to 2.5, 3, which is here. So I need to move my whole shape across and down, don't I? Remember, I always think about the across first and then the up or down. So I'm going to go across and then down. So how many will that be across and how many down? And that's what I write. Describe the translation. I'm going to say how many left and then how many down. And then I want you to think about what are the coordinates of the other 3 vertices after your translation. So if A moves to where D is now, where will B become? Where will C be? And where will D go? So where will each of the 3 other vertices go if A moves to here? It moves along and down. Remember, all our translation is the same for the whole shape. Every vertex moves the same way. How many across, how many down? All right. So once you've done that for me today, don't move onto your workbook yet. I would like you to have a little go at this. This is your show it task. Now, we've had a little go at using these, but so far we've only used these with number. And I thought, do you know what? There's no reason why we can't have a go at using this for shape. So I've put a statement in the middle. Now, you don't have to print this off. You can just write the titles in your books, the headings, show it, draw it, explain it, and prove it. So you don't have to print this off if you don't want to. But your statement is, if I move my rectangle 5 left, the gap between the position of my original shape and my new shape will be 3 squares. So it's a bit of a challenge there. It's a bit of a, you have to explore that. So think really carefully about how you might show it. Is there a way of drawing it? I don't know on this one. It's a bit different, isn't it? So it might be that actually you won't be able to do something for each of the headings, but I definitely want you to see if you can prove it to me. And you might need to think a little bit differently about proving it today. So perhaps you might think about using, actually, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to see what you come up with, okay? But don't panic if you think, oh, I just don't know how to draw it or I don't know how to show it. Just, it's about exploring and showing me what you know, okay? So once you've done that, if you've got some time, and I know that some of you won't, but if you have got some more time, your extension task today is actually your workbook. So this, I'm not necessarily expecting everybody to see their workbook complete, or complete their workbook, sorry. But if you do, this is your extension task, okay? So worksheet 2, which is on pages 79 and 80, and it's got just some more practice on some of those things. But we've got here, look, we've got parallelogram. So it's thinking about that vocabulary that we talked about yesterday in our Zoom call. That's why we went over it with you. All right, so I'm really looking forward, particularly this task here. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you get on with this one here and show me what you know using those headings. The explain it is really important here. Okay, good luck, guys.